Okay, I'm going to get started. What I'm going to do is a demonstration in painting a person, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing as I go. Right now, I'm opening up the cups for my liquids that I use, and one of them is terpenoid, and the other one is linseed oil. I use the terpenoid in order to wash the brush and thin the paint at the beginning, when I'm starting to paint more as a wash drawing. And then as I go, I'll use the oil as a way of thinning the paint, but keeping a certain amount of body so it doesn't get too thin. And then I use linseed oil for that. See, and I'm putting some linseed oil into my cup now. Okay. Now, I mentioned to my class earlier that I often paint on a toned panel, which means a panel that's gray, you know, one kind of a gray or another. And often I like to do that because I can more quickly get into the light colors. You can't paint the light colors until you have the darks down. Because if you try to paint, let's say, the light of her skin color or the blouse, it's going to be very much like this white surface. So I have to build up the darks and lights. All right, now, I'm just working on this, this size or proportion. So I'm going to try and fit the head on so it'll look right for me in terms of size and space. Okay, I start off with dipping my brush in the turpentine or terpenoid and getting a darker color, but it would be more as a wash. In this case, I'm using the burnt umber and the ultramarine blue. And as I go, I might even decide to change the size or position of what I'm doing. Can you turn your head a little more that way? Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes as I go, you see, I start to fuss and change the position of things. Now, I was mentioning to my class before that this approach in painting is an alla prima, where I'm getting the basic drawing down directly with the paint. I'm not doing a preliminary drawing. And you can see I'm dividing the face into several areas because I know that I want the front of the face to be more in this direction. So it's kind of a three-quarter view. And I'm leaving a certain amount of distance from here to the top. And I like to have a little more space on the side that she's looking.
Why are you using blue?
Just because it's a darker color. There's no particular reason for the color, it's just the value. So I can build up my drawing and see where things are going to go. And as you can see, I'm changing things as I go in order to get the basic drawing down. I'm just going into a brush a little bit bigger, just to get my values in place, because I'm interested in, can you all hear me? Because I'm interested in getting the basic tones down before I get into any kind of development or detail. Now, sometimes I switch around to try to put a little more tone on before even developing a lot of the face, because it's a white surface and I want to be able to get some of the darks in the background. Obviously, you see that the darks in the background are like the hair, darker than the shade on the face. This is just to get the values so that I'll be able to develop the lights on the face. Now you see, this is largely using terp, and this is going to dry pretty fast. Now sometimes when I develop these things, I'll go into a more careful drawing first, even just with the line and the brush. And sometimes I'll get a little more into the basic tones, which it looks like I'm going in that direction now. But I'm still going to work for some of the drawing aspects before I do. Right now it's just for values. You see, I'm using a dark color just to developing a little bit of the placement of the eye or the shade over here so I can see this little triangle. And this all flows right into the neck, the shade does.
Did you always start this loose?
No. No, I do it different ways. Depends what I'm feeling at the moment. But usually, the basic idea is that I'm trying to get the structure of the face. It's drawing, basically. And there's sort of an organic connection to it all. Things kind of develop more in a spatial way. With the other, it's like you're dealing with a photograph, you know. There's the establishment of a flat design based on whatever the photograph takes. One of my father's classmates at the National Academy of Design, was Raphael Sawyer. And he was helpful in many ways because he had the same social point of view in expressing these social ideas. And I found him very helpful in that respect. But I felt his work should have been a little more realistically drawn and painted. Although he felt it was.
Who are you talking about?
Raphael Sawyer. Some of you may know him. You know Raphael Sawyer? No?
Raphael Sawyer?
Huh? Raphael, yeah.
Raphael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my father went to the National Academy of Design in 1920, and he was a classmate. Now what I'm doing now is trying to define the basic shape of the whole thing. See, I'm trying to establish where my shapes are. But at the same time, I want to get the basic darks and lights on the face. Now, one of the things that I point out is to try to paint what you see and the forms that you see. So instead of getting like the eyebrow and the outline of the eye, I'm looking for the basic shapes, or dark and light shapes that are there. So for example, on her right eye, the left side, I see a certain form going diagonally up and down for what we would call the corner of the eye, and then it sort of comes down into the eye. So you see, this is the reality of what I see. And I'm saying this in a way because I've been trying to get the students to avoid going by this approach of following an anatomy book of how an eye is drawn or how it looks. It helps, but at the same time you want to get the character of the individual posing. See, and that's important to me. Now you see I have a certain amount of tone in here, and now I can start to build up a little of that tone. But I'll still keep working on the drawing to be sure that my drawing is right. I'm going to start to put in some light colors, and I'm using white and the cadmium red pale. I think I'm going to put a little of the light green in there. Just to get a light color, maybe a touch of blue, just to get it a little cooler.